Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking Philly Sports with Matty B program here on the Edge of Philly Sports with your boy Matty B. It is Thursday, May the 25th, 2023. It is 8:27 p.m. And you're with me or you're watching EOP. That means we're together on this odd of nights for me because typically I come at you on Tuesdays at around 9-ish, but this week due to some unforeseen circumstances, well, they weren't unforeseen. I knew they were happening. I was trying to maneuver things around that where I could still come at you on my regular Tuesday night at 9, but that was unable to be made by me because I had to roll out to Ohio on Tuesday to partake and witness my oldest daughter, Kylie, who she graduated high school on Tuesday night. She lives in Ohio with her mother and her other two sisters. So I want to wish her it was a great night, a very emotionally charged night. I know there's a lot of parents out there, but when you have a child who literally goes through those milestones in life, I've never experienced this before when I was, sitting there watching my firstborn, and I very vivid memories of her as a firstborn child, stepping across the stage and graduating high school. It was very emotional and it was a great night. And I was glad that I could be part of it and be out there with her and celebrate. And I want to wish her once again, congratulations, babe. And the world is yours. Now it's time for you to go out there and take it. Boy, it was funny when I was watching her graduate. I was actually thinking and had a lot of memories of my own high school graduation back there in 1991, and it was just a weird circle. I had two younger daughters who are twins. They are a part of the class of 26, so I will be partaking in this thing in about 3 more years. So to my oldest and my baby, Kylie, I love you and congratulations again. I'm very proud of you. Me and your mother both are very proud of you. So that's where I was Tuesday. And as I said, I was trying to kind of fit in both. I thought for some odd reason I can attend a high school graduation in Canton, Ohio at 7:30 at night for about 500 students and still get on the air by 9 and bring you the Talking Philly Sports Matty B program. I was unable to do that, and I made a decision in the drive out to Ohio. I pivoted and said, Al, I gotta punt here. Can you get me on later in the week? So Big Al did, and he put me here on Thursday. And I ain't lying, I like it here on Thursday nights. And this is an interesting weekend. It's interesting for me too because right after I do this show, I'm back on the road because I got to head up to old Beantown. I'm reffing a hockey tournament over the weekend, and I got my first game tomorrow morning at 8. So I'm hitting the road as soon as I finish this, and I'll be in Boston until Sunday. So I got to get this thing out of the way. I'm not saying I'm going to rush through this, but this is, I got about a 4-hour drive ahead of me, but that's all good. I've done this drive. I've done that drive many times. So I'm happy to be back here on Thursday night, and I know we are at the precipice of the unofficial start of the summer of 2023 as Memorial Day weekend is upon us. And I know tomorrow, starting probably tomorrow, most of you or some of you or a couple of you are going to be heading to points unknown, Wildwood, Sea Isle, Margate, wherever, the mountains, Poconos, places like that where you're going to spend your Memorial Day weekend. And I truly hope that you have a great Memorial Day weekend. And I don't want to get political and I don't want to get, sentimental, but as a soldier, as a retired soldier, I did 30 years in the military, in the Army. I find especially on this holiday, Memorial Day. Obviously, this is the day we celebrate all those who paid the ultimate price, and those names and those numbers are in the thousands. And those people and the people they left behind are truly deserving of this holiday to remember and observe that. And you've heard this a million times. While you're out there having your barbecue or playing at the beach, remember why you are doing that and understand what it's all about. But also, don't thank me. You know, don't thank me as a soldier. Be like, hey, thank you. No, this Memorial Day is not for me. Memorial Day is for those that paid the ultimate price. Mine is Veterans Day. That's my holiday. But for those who paid the ultimate price, and I am a combat veteran. I spent 6 tours of duty in 5 in Afghanistan and 1 in Iraq. Almost 100 months of combat time in my 30 years, and thankfully, I was one of the lucky ones that walked away not, I wouldn't say unscathed, but walked away. And I've known a lot of friends, senior leaders that I served with, junior soldiers that I served over, that are not that never came home. And for those that, they are definitely in my thoughts and prayers this weekend as we celebrate Memorial Day. And but it is also the unofficial start of summer. And it had me kind of pause. And I know I got really deep there. Now I'm going to come back out, but I had a pause because, especially with a lot of the time that I've been driving over the week, I've had a lot of time to think about this. And what are you some of the things that and I'm gonna use movies here. And tonight we're gonna talk this my top 5 summer movies of all time. From the time that I was born up until now. What are my top 5 summer movies? Because the summer film genre is really, in my opinion, hasn't really been tapped into that much, or it has been tapped into, but not adequately. Not many good, really good films. But when you think of summer movie, and I'm not talking like summer blockbuster. No, that's not what I mean. I mean like a summer themed movie. And that's, I'm going to give you my top 5 summer themed movies tonight here on the program as we prepare for Memorial Day weekend, as well as we're going to get into some Phillies talk. And as I speak right now, the Phillies got their hands full down in Atlanta. 3-3 in the fourth. Aaron Nola pitching relatively good if he could keep the damn ball in the yard, as he's given up 2 home runs up to this point. And later on tonight, don't forget to catch the Titans final, and they will bring you this game in its entirety, or they will recap this in its entirety. But it's 3-3 in the fourth. But as we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about the underachieving 23 and 26 Phillies and where I feel that this thing is headed and what I feel needs to be done, as we are entering into that. No longer you can say that it's in the early part of the season of baseball. We're not there anymore. And the Phillies are staring at a part of their schedule that I remember them in December, because I look at schedules well in advance, and baseball, I think, puts out their schedule like during the season for the next year. And I remember looking around December at this schedule, kind of like for the first time with like detail, and I saw this little hit here that the Phillies are about to start, or they have started, the 4 games in Atlanta, the 3 games with the Mets, and then the 3 games in DC, a 10-game road trip. And I remember thinking back then that, you know what, that's going to tell you a lot about what the Philadelphia Phillies in 2023 are, because it's at this late May, early June part of the season where the door is kind of hinging and swinging. The Phillies have not had a good May. They're 8-12 in the month. Not as bad as it's been last year, but we're obviously still not in the May. And there's many games left to go, and there's 4 with the Mets, or 4 with the Braves, and 3 with the Mets to go, or 2 with the Mets to go in the month of May. So not a good May thus far, but the Phillies have a chance to make it a good May, or to make it a better May than they had last season. And we're going to get into that as well. The comparisons, a lot of talk this week on sports talk radio, or just around the water cooler, about the comparisons. Like, oh well, last year it was like this, and we were kind of dealing with the same type of issues. And I want to get into my kind of thing on the comparison talk about, uh, you know, comparing one season of baseball and one Phillies team to the next. And then finally, maybe if I get around to it, we're going to throw in some Eagles talk. But I really debated on doing this because we're in May. The schedule's out, yeah, and I've heard a lot of people get into their predictions and giving you what they feel that the season's going to be. But I bring you the fact that I don't think in late May you can adequately predict the schedule. You really can't predict the schedule anyway. But I always like to hold it on to about late August, like right before the season starts. After the preseason, after you get through training camp, or after you get through that post June 1st cut down period, and then you get through training camp, and then preseason, and then you have a better picture, because some players get hurt, some people are lost for the season in those phases of the year. I like to kind of reserve my predictions of the schedule until then. So I'm not going to get into my what I think the Eagles are going to be this year. Not now, not in late May, but maybe we'll talk a little bit about the Eagles. And let's start with this. Philly Sports Trip. Listen, guys, the schedule's out, as I just mentioned. We all know where we're going and who we're playing. And now it's your turn to get over to phillysportstrips.com and check out everything that they're going to be bringing you this season for Eagles football, and not just Eagles football, because we got Phillies. They got a trip going out to Pittsburgh, a trip out to Wrigley, I believe a trip to San Diego. They got all kinds of stuff going on. You need to head over to Philly Sports Trips and figure out what you're going to do and why are you waiting and why are you listening to me? Head over to phillysportstrips.com right now. So let's get into our first segment of the night, and it's a segment that we do quite regularly here on the program. It is your night in Philadelphia sports history. Yes, I know it's Thursday night, but that's not going to change my night in Philadelphia sports history. And I take you all the way back to 1997. Folks, think where you were doing and what was going on in your life on May 25th, 1997. And the reason why I want to go there is because on this night, the Philadelphia Flyers took out the New York Rangers in Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals, earning a trip to their 7th overall Stanley Cup final appearance of history. And then they obviously had to wait 13 more years before they went back in 2010. But on this night, 97, Eric Lindros, Rod Brindamore, Gar Snow, Ron Hextall, and the rest of them, capped off a storied run in 96, 97 as they beat the Rangers 4-2 in Game 6. And of course, we all know what was awaiting them, and that was the Detroit, the Soviet Detroit Red Wings club as they went through against them in the finals and didn't really stand a chance against the Red Wings, as the Red Wings, I think, outscored them like 16-6 and then swept them right on out of the Stanley Cup Finals. And then, as I mentioned, 13 years before the Flyers would get back there in 2010. But on this night, all was right in the Flyers world, man, because I remember this game vividly. I remember where I was when I was watching it, and how excited I was that the Flyers were, and how unbelievable to me it was that the Flyers were actually in the Stanley Cup Finals. They had goaltending. They went through a goaltending without, they rotated between Hextall and Snow all season, and ultimately that was their demise to the Red Wings. But yeah, just the dominance of Eric Lindros that year. He really kind of came into his own, but also in that year, his dominance was continued from that, like, I think in 95 season, it kind of really started, and then through 96, 97. But then something happened in the finals, if you guys remember. Eric Lindros was a ghost. He was neutralized. The Red Wings held him down and out for most of the finals. And, of course, the demise of Eric Lindros was forthcoming here in Philadelphia right after that. But on this night, 96, 97, the Philadelphia Flyers advanced to the Stanley Cup Finals by beating the Rangers 4-2 in Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals. And that is your day in Philadelphia sports history, brought to you by the fine folks here at Talking Philly Sports with Matty B. And a little scoring update: Bryce MV3 Harper has just homered to put the Phillies ahead 5-4 in the top, to tie things up at 4-4. I guess they were down. I must have missed that. It is now 4-4. Phillies and Braves in the top of the 5th. Harper with the home run. Head over there and why aren't you watching the game? So, perfect segue. So as we mentioned, the Phillies. Guys, there's no secret of who I am and what I do here on the network. I am the host and one of the co-hosts and creators of the Fightin's Final. And last year, you saw my pretty face throughout the whole season, kind of going game by game, peak and valley, all the way to the end there, and to include that awesome postseason run. And this year, I've been joined with by 3 others as we have been tag team in the final throughout this season. But I would like to think that I have a interesting pulse and perspective on the Phillies, and with the way this team has struggled, and it's a struggle. There's been no consistency with this team. It's a Jekyll and Hyde team. They're up, they're down. They beat teams they're not supposed to, and they lose teams to teams that they're supposed to. And it's been very frustrating. And I'm going to get into the whole comparison thing in a second, but I want to talk about what is happening with this team right now, and where I feel that the problem is. And it's 3 phases of the game right now. And I'm going to give you those 3 phases. First and foremost is the starting rotation. And again, I really am sick and tired of beating on this drum, but I came on this program through the heading into the season, and I just didn't think Dave Dabrowski had done enough in that realm. of starting pitching. I didn't like the plan. I've been very vocal about that. I didn't like relying on Andrew Painter and Bailey Falter to kind of fill the hole or the void left by Noah Syndergaard and Zach Eflin. Now, of course, Taijuan Walker was brought in here, I think, more for the fill the void of Zach Eflin. But I didn't like the decision to go with Bailey Falter, who was unproven yet. He was unproven. Everyone's going to sit here and say, "Well, but what about what he did last year?" But yeah, I mean, he pitched well, but did he do it every fifth day for 6 months? No, he did. He did in spot starts, and it's different. Spot starts and picking up the ball every fifth day is a different animal. And Bailey Falter never did that before for the Phillies. And this season, it obviously was a nightmare. 0-7. He was sent down to AAA and he's getting beat up down there. I don't know what's going on with him. And then relying on Andrew Painter, who right now is, going into the season was one of the top 10 prospects in all of Major League Baseball, the top prospect in the Phillies system. Definitely a Cole Hamels esque type potential. He gets hurt in spring training. He's now still not back. He's throwing off of a mound, but kind of like tossing. He's not throwing. He's tossing off of a mound. There's some concern there about what happened to his. What is it, Tommy John? Or are we trying to avoid that? But to go with the plan of Bailey Falter, and even the injury, like say the injury to Andrew Painter doesn't happen. Andrew Painter never pitched above Double A. Why was he even an option as a starter this year? He's to me should have been looked at as a commodity as a starter. If it worked out, great. We have an extra arm that we may be able to put in there if somebody else doesn't make it. But to rely on a kid that's never produced above the Double A level, it was ridiculous to me. And you couple that with the fact that the Phillies' current pitchers in Nola, Wheeler, and Walker have not pitched well. They've been consistent. Walker, his last time out, pitched really well, but it's every other game or Jekyll High. You don't know what you get in 1 week to one day, and not. It's been very frustrating. And to me, that has been the bugaboo, the number one bugaboo of this team that has kind of pushed them down is that lack of starting pitching consistency. And then there's another two more phases that I want to talk about, but the lack of starting pitching consistency has destroyed this team, has bogged this team down into mediocrity, 3 games under 500. You don't know what you're going to get every night. And there's no other options to turn to. And that's what that's really kind of befuddling me. We're not turning to any options. We're not looking at promoting anybody right now in the minor leagues. What happened to that revamped, vaunted minor league system? Where's the support? Where's the backups? We're not bringing anybody up from the high right now. There still isn't a fifth starter. And it's late May. And that's not good. That's not good because you can hit 500. You can drive in 85,000 runs a game. You can hit 50,000 home runs. If you can't keep 50, if you give up 50,001 home runs, it's not going to work. And right now, the Phillies, and they're not hitting well, and we'll get into that, but you need consistent starting pitching, and you need to have it to win a championship. Baseball has changed a lot over the years, hasn't changed that much. Starting pitching still wins you championships. And I really think right now, if you're asking me if this is this is it, if this is what the Phillies are going to do, and I don't believe that this is what I gotta believe Dave Dombrowski's got to be looking somewhere. He's got to be looking for something. But if this is we're not going to get to the All-Star break. No, we're going to be 40 games out of first place by July because we need better starting pitching, and we don't have it internally. So Dombrowski's going to have to go out and find it. And how does he find it? He's going to have to trade for it. Who's he trading for it? I don't know. Great question. Is Aaron Nola potentially going to be a trade candidate for maybe a younger arm or two? Obviously, Aaron Nola's name will be more mentioned deeper in the season we get, and as the Philly season kind of transforms or unfolds, we'll be able to see more of what Aaron Nola's future with this team will be this year and beyond. But what trading chips are we putting in the table in order to get better, consistent starting pitching? Who will we putting out there? We traded our number one catching prospect away last season. We traded away Mickey Moniak, who's not going to cover off the ball for the Angels, which don't worry about it. That'll end when he gets hurt, which is inevitable. But what do we have left to trade, to find a competent starting pitcher? And I don't mean anything off the refuse pile. I don't want, and I hate to say, I always use these guys' names. I don't want Chase Anderson or Matt Moore. All right, I don't. I don't want those guys. I need somebody in that fifth role that can give me 5 to 6 innings a game and keep my team in it. Not come apart in the fourth inning, come apart in the third inning. I need a guy that goes 6 solid and holds me in a game. I don't know if that guy's still out there on free agency. I'm sure he might be, uh, and I don't know if he's internal. So, what's Dave Dombrowski going to do? Because we cannot continue going down this road. It's not going to work. It's going to, we're staring at these 10 games right now, the 10 games that we got right in front of us. If you don't think that after this 10-game little run that you're not going to have a really clear idea of what the Phillies are, then you're not watching hard enough. Because this team is definitely going to show you, for good or for bad or for up or for down, what they are over the next 10 games. And I'm not saying that the season hinges on these 10 games. I'm saying that this is a huge, 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 huge fork in the road of 2023 right now. And they're going in it without a fifth starter. I mean, I don't get it. I really don't. Are they going to really? Are we going to do a bullpen game during this 10-game stretch? I mean, can Rob Thompson actually sell that? That during a stretch of games where we could find ourselves either right back in the NL East hunt or right in the bottom of it, depending on which decisions he makes with the lineup and the starting rotation. I mean, is he really going to sell us a bullpen game during these 10 games? I, I'm not buying it. I'm really not buying it at all. Which leads me to my phase 2 issue of this season, and that is with our manager Rob Thompson. Okay. Never have I come on this program ever, 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 this program or the Fightins Final, and given Rob Thompson my endorsement. I thought that, the firing of Joe Girardi was a necessary thing last season. I wasn't for it. I'm a Joe Girardi guy. I liked him. But I definitely thought it was the right thing to do, based on the lame duck manager thing and the fact that the team was sinking quick. And I'm not sitting here trying to tell you that it was the wrong decision to make Rob Thompson the manager. I'm not, because what did he do? But now here we are. We're on, this is game 50, and it's 5-4. I think Noah just gave up his third home run tonight. Aaron Noah just given up 3 home runs tonight. This is what I'm talking about, folks. We can't win like this. I mean, the Wheelers and the Nolas that we have, right? The 2 pitchers that are supposedly our aces, you don't know what you're getting from Nola. Nola's given up 3 home runs tonight. 3 home runs. The Braves just hit another one. It's 5-4. Amazing. Absolutely, utterly amazing. This is what thin pitching looks like, right? When you're not getting it from your aces, and then you don't have any other pitching to rely on because there's nothing there. This is why we're 3 games under 500. 3 home runs Nola's given up tonight so far. 3 home runs. Absolutely amazing. On a contract year. Aaron Nola's contract year. He's pitching like this. Anyway, getting back to Rob Thompson. Getting all frustrated while watching the game while I talk to you. Rob Thompson has not impressed me this year. He's not. Rob Thompson has basically been Joe Girardi. I mean, if you think about it, right? He's got his nose in the binder. He sets his lineup 3 days in advance. How do you do that? How do you set a lineup at the Major League Baseball level 3 games in advance? What the hell is going on here, man? I mean, how do you know who's going to be hot on Wednesday, on Sunday? I don't understand that. I don't get that. And Rob Thompson's dedication and devotion and loyalty to some of those analytics. You've seen him? I've seen him. He's got his nose in a binder. He's binder Rob. And I get it. I get analytics, and I understand what their place is in this game. But he's not managing it all with his gut. He's managing with a binder, just like Joe Girardi did, just like Gabe Kapler did. What's the difference? What's the difference? And then that lazy fair, that lazy, like, oh yeah, we'll go be that even keeled, smug little smirk he gives during the press conferences is really kind of insulting. It's insulting. He doesn't seem. Is there what's going on in the clubhouse? The Phillies, they, to their credit, salvaged the game yesterday against the Diamondbacks and did it in a, they're down 5-0. It looked like it was going to be another Cody Clemens pitching appearance yesterday. But to the Phillies' credit, man, they picked it up. They tied the game and they won it in extra innings. Maybe that's the turning point. Maybe that's the Angel game from last year where they won it on the was it the Bryson Stott walk off? I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. But prior to that, the Phillies were dreadful. Dreadful. They lost the first two games of the Diamondbacks. They ended up taking 2 out of 3 from the Cubs. But then they came off of what, a 4 or 5 game losing streak. I mean, it's been up and down, up and down. It's been one disastrous week after another disastrous week. And Rob Thompson has done nothing at all to attempt to fix the problem. He's got a man in Kyle Schwarber who's batting like 171, like fifth. He's got Trey Turner, who, again, picked it up yesterday with that massive 2-run shot to tie things up. But prior to that, Trey Turner was like 1 for his last 20. And we just running out the same thing every night. The pitching problems, taking out a pitcher who's mowing them down, but taking him out because analytics says you need to take him out for a matchup, and then that reliever not doing well. These are the things that got Joe Girardi fired. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I advocate firing Rob Thompson. I'm not, because you can't. Optically, you cannot do that. That will send a message around Major League Baseball that the Phillies are like dysfunctional beyond belief. You cannot change managers in season 2 straight seasons. And I think there's a 0.00000000001 chance that the Phillies change managers in season this year. I do. Just purely because of the optics of it. It just doesn't work. And Rob Thompson, for good or for bad, is going to be the manager this year. But he's also going to be the manager of the National League All-Star team. But you guys forgot about that, right? Because he went to the World Series last year. He's going to manage the NL All-Star team. How messed up would that be if the Phillies fired Rob Thompson? I mean, does the new manager get to manage the National League All-Star team, or does the manager of the Padres do it? Because he's the one that was. I mean, how do you pick that guy? But anyway, optically, Rob Thompson's not going to get fired. But I don't want Rob Thompson back next year, because I don't think Rob Thompson's the right guy. I don't. I think he's where he needed to be, a bench coach. The guy that's behind the scenes, the guy that's got all the detail. Make sure this and that's right, this and that is happening. I don't like Rob Thompson as a manager, and I don't think we're going to win a World Series with Rob Thompson as our manager. So I don't want him fired in season, but I want him fired after the season, because I'm just not comfortable with him. I think he's the wrong type of manager for what we need here. He's kind of like a cross between Joe Girardi and Gabe Kapler. I mean, he grew up under Girardi and Torre, and then he's kind of got that laid backness of Kapler and that player relationship stuff that Kapler had. But I want a manager that can manage a baseball team and not a binder. And I'm begging for one of those. And I don't know if those exist anymore. Rob Thompson's not. He's a binder guy. I don't want a binder guy. I want a guy that actually manages this game through his gut and his heart, and it doesn't let his eyes, doesn't like think his eyes are lying to him. That trusts his eyes. So that's phase 2, and then the phase 3, that what I think is really torpedoed the Phillies this year, and then what might stop them. It kind of ties in with phase 1 and 2. That's Dave Dombrowski. That's right. I'm going to say it. Dave Dombrowski has done an inadequate job this offseason in addressing some of the Phillies' problems. And listen, to be honest with you, Kyle Schwarber has been a mistake too. Again, I'll give me the 46 home runs and shove them up your butt. I don't really care about that. The guy doesn't hit for average. He's a strikeout machine. He's a home run or bust. I can't live like that anymore. And you're paying this guy the money you're paying him. So Dave Dombrowski is responsible for this mess too, because this is his architecture. These are the players that he brought here. Trey Turner is struggling. I'm a Trey Turner guy, and I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you that, oh, he should never been brought here, because I was probably the biggest supporter of bringing Trey Turner on, but it hasn't worked out to date. Kyle Schwarber, listen, you're not going to sell me on the fact that Kyle Schwarber is this elite MLB player. You're not going to sell it on me. He's a home run hitter, and that's it. It's not like he hits home runs and singles. No, he hits home runs or he strikes out. Bottom line. And I don't want a guy like that. I don't. I don't think we need a guy like that. I think we have too many holes on this team to where that's a luxury kinda that's like that's a luxury player, and we don't have that luxury right now. We need a 5th starter, right? I need, maybe a little bit more depth in the outfield. I need a better bench. I don't need Kyle Schwarber getting up there and striking out 4 to 5 times a game, and then every 15th, 16th at bat, he launches a home run. Ooh, yeah, I don't need that. I need consistency. And Schwarber's, Dave Dombrowski's, uh, architecture. Castellanos is here because of Dave Dombrowski. Trey Turner is here because of Dave Dombrowski. Uh, the list goes on and on. Taiwan Walker is here because of Dave Dombrowski. So when are we going to hold Dave Dombrowski accountable for some of these moves that have not worked out? And when is that when does that debt become payable from the president of baseball operations of the Philadelphia Phillies? Because if you're asking me, Dave Dombrowski did not do an adequate job. I don't think he addressed the bench correctly. I don't think we have anything coming off the bench. Yeah, you throw in the Reese Hoskins injury, and I understand that. But you know what? The hell would Reese Hoskins be doing right now? And that's another thing. Everyone's like, "Well, if Reese was here, what if Reese was here? What would he be doing? He's striking out too." Do we forget? Do we forget what we're talking about? I'm glad he's gone. I don't miss him at all. He's horrible. Oh, if he was here, he was a presence in that locker room. He was a leader. He's a grown man. Yeah, what do you mean he was a anyway? Dave Dombrowski shares a lot of the blame too. This is his vision. This is his brainchild. And what is he going to do to fix it? As I mentioned in this offseason, he did not have the right plan to address the starting pitching of this baseball team, and it has come to roost. As I mentioned, Aaron Nola has now given up 4 home runs in the night. I don't really need to say much more than that. But yeah, and that's why we find ourselves 23 and 26. Don't get me started with the runners left in scoring position as they're batting, I think 235 as a team. I don't want to get into that. It's like 90, they're like 98 for like 412 with runners in scoring position. Jesus Christ, man. It's horrible. I mean, I think there was a span of the games this week where the Phillies, I think for 4 straight games, were like one for whatever with runners in scoring position. Yeah, I mean that's just like little league bad, you know. But what's Dave Dombrowski going to do to fix it? We're going to blame the injuries. Oh, Reese got hurt. Bryce is coming back. Injury. And now, hey, listen. Okay, so we didn't know about Reese Hoskins getting hurt. Obviously, that was nothing that they could cover. Bryce Harper was out. We knew that. We knew Bryce Harper wasn't going to be part of this. And honestly, I think he was rushed back. I think they put him back in this, and they brought him back in to maybe keep butts in the seats because they knew they were struggling, and to try to hang on for dear life. That's a what do you that's a Hail Mary move by Dave Dombrowski bringing back Bryce Harper. He should be back. He should be out for at least a couple months. But I think it's a Hail Mary move, man, to bring him back. I really do. And I think it's also trying to keep the fans interested too, as they see this thing kind of slipping. But yeah, runners in scoring position, dreadful. They're striking out close to 9 times a game. Dreadful. They're not producing at the plate with the home runs. I think they've hit 47 as a team through 50 games, or maybe now it's 49 through 50. They're being out homered by their opposition. They're being obviously outscored. They've left over 450 runners on base. I mean, these are numbers that are like back in the day of what teams would do throughout the course of a season, and the Phillies have amassed these numbers in May. It's amazing. It's managing too. The run not being able to get timely hits consistently, the errors, the base running mistakes, everything that has really kind of summed up what the Phillies have been for the first 50 games. It's a lot of that's managing too. A lot of it is, and I believe that. A lot of it's managing. And I don't think Rob Thompson's done a good enough job. And I'm not saying they should fire him. Not right now, not in season. But I don't want him back next year. I think they need to fire him in the offseason and find him a real manager. Find a manager that's gonna ask John Tortorella if he wants to run, both teams. If they don't conflict. I mean, he can have somebody run spring training in the first month of the season, then he can come over and take it the rest of the way through mid-September. Why not? I would love John Tortorella here. He would be an awesome manager. That's the kind of manager the Phillies need. They really do. They need a John Tortorella. So 23 and 26, facing a 10-game hit now with 4 with Atlanta, 3 with the Mets, and 3 with the Nationals. Folks, you're hearing it on this program. Maybe the first time you've heard this, but you're hearing it here now. You will know what your Philadelphia Phillies are in 2023 at the end of this 10-game road trip. Take it to the bank. Matty B said, you will know. Because this team is you're going to know everything you need to know about this team. And you're going to be able to see what this team is in 2023. Now, am I saying that they're not going to be a playoff team if they go 0-10? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying they're not going to win the division if they go 0-10, but I'm not saying they're not going to be a playoff team. But you're going to know what this team is after these 10 games. And I don't want to hear it's too early. And I don't want to hear that it's getting warm and it's hitting season. Whatever. You're supposed to hit April through October. It shouldn't go up or down in June or July. No, it should be consistent. You're a Major League Baseball player, for God's sakes. But 23 and 26 is 5-4 right now. As I mentioned, Aaron Nola is launching balls out of that park all night long tonight for the Phillies as their pitcher. Phillies are batting in the top of the sixth now. So don't forget, after this program, the Titans final will be along to wrap up that game and everything else has been happening on your MLB day. And by the way, this is the lineup on EOP. We are on Thursday. The Attacking Third is coming on here, is on probably right now. And then the Titans final. And then we got you covered through the Memorial Day weekend. Some companies are off. Some businesses are not operating, not Edge of Philly Sports. I will be coming at you tomorrow night via my hotel room in Boston to do the Titans final. And then the Patterson Ave Fanatics will be with you on Saturday. We'll be back for the Titans final on Saturday night. Sunday will be the PM and the AM all across all the time. And then the Titans final after the Phillies on the ESPN game on Sunday. So that'll be me as well. I'll be back here in Philadelphia doing that. Should be back in town for that show. But we are not going to stop. We are not letting the holiday or the holiday weekend slow us down as we stream into the summer and get you where you need to be. And if you're not going anywhere this weekend, if you're staying local, then you need to head on down to Dolan's in 24 East Sellers Ave in Ridley Park, PA, in the heart of Delco. Quizzo music, great times, and memorabilia giveaways. Let PJ know that Matty B and EOP sent you, and have a great, local hangout weekend if you're not going out of town. And if you're still looking for those hard to find sports concerts or theater tickets, www.sherrytickets.com. Family owned and operated since 1946. Has you covered. No hidden fees, and they have great prices. Save an additional 10% when you enter the promo code EOP10. And if you are planning on having a great weekend, but guess what? Something happens where things go off the rails and you wake up Tuesday morning in dire need of some workman's compensation, motor vehicle accident, personal injury, or criminal law questions, look no further than Dave Cherry, Esquire, at 610-565-0300. Tell Dave, or www.cherryinjurylaw.com. Tell Dave that Matty B and EOP and Talking Philly Sports Matty B sent you. All right, on to my next topic, and that is the topic of the night. It is Memorial Day weekend. I know a lot of you are going to the shore. A lot of you, head down there for the first unofficial weekend of the summertime. And it gets me to thinking of my favorite summertime movies. Now, as I said, it's not necessarily, I'm not asking for Transformers or Empire Strikes Back. No, I meant summer themed movies. What are your favorite? I am about to give you Matty B's top 5 of all time and why. And I'm interested to know what yours might be as we are, because I guarantee you at some point, if you're not doing anything and you're cruising around the old TV dial, you're going to run into like a TBS or a TNT, and they're going to be running some sort of summer movie marathon. And I guarantee you some of these movies that I'm about to talk about, they're probably going to be shown on those movie marathons. So let's go with number 5. I'm going to start with 5 all time. It's the 1979 summer camp classic Meatballs, starring Bill Murray. This was, I remember watching it when I was not quite in 1979, but I remember watching it as a younger kid. It was funny then. It's funny now. The type of humor that is in this movie is mature humor, but not silly humor. Or I should say mature, silly, but not stupid humor. It's very smartly written, awesomely acted, and just a great movie. If you're in the summer camp movies, number 5 on my list is Meatballs. Check it out. It's the original one. It came out in '79 starring Bill Murray. Not Meatballs 2, 3, 4. There was one with Pee Wee Herman in it. Nah, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the original Meatballs starring Bill Murray, came out in '79. Number 5 on my list. Number 4, a movie that came out in the late '80s, early '90s that actually kind of surprised me that I would actually like it, and it was, 'cause I don't like Jonathan Silverman, nor do I like Andrew McCarthy as actors, McCartney, whatever his name is. But in Weekend at Bernie's, this and it was such a stupid premise, but it works. It worked. It worked again because of the acting and the writing. And Weekend at Bernie's to me is just absolutely hilarious from the start to the finish, and highly recommend it. And that is number 4 on my top movie or summer movie list of all time. Weekend at Bernie's number 4. Number 3, Summer Rental. John Candy was an awesome, awesome, awesome actor. And for those of you, Summer Rental came out in the mid '80s. I'm going kind of dating myself because there's really not, to me, there's not good movies out there recently. These movies are all like from the '80s and late '70s and the '80s because that's when the movies were good, especially summer genre films. And John Candy's Summer Rental, um, again, brilliantly written, brilliantly acted. Uh, Awesome film. He played an air traffic controller from Atlanta who was burned out, so he went down to Florida for like a week or a month at the beach and runs into all kinds of shenanigans along the way, and it's just really a really, really good movie. So, Summer Rental is my number 3. My number 2, Caddyshack. I mean, Caddy friggin' Shack is the bomb. Maybe my funniest movie ever of all time. It is my number 2 summer movie. It's probably like my number 5 movie of all time, and it's probably up there in my top 3 of funniest movies of all time. Rodney Dangerfield, Ted Knight, Bill Murray, Chevy Chase. Uh, it goes on and on and on and on. Caddyshack is a classic. Caddyshack is, again, smartly written, brilliantly acted, silly funny, but not stupid funny. Just a great movie. A great, great, great movie. I don't know if any. I don't. I've never met a person in my life that's never seen Caddyshack. And that tells you something. When everybody on the planet has seen the movie, it is a cult classic and is my number 2 all-time summer movie. That leads me to my number 1 all-time summer movie of all time, Jaws. Come on. When you think of summer, you hear the music. When you go to the beach, everybody out there has sat on a beach at some point in their life, stared out at the ocean, and heard that music, or has been in the ocean and kind of just bobbing around, and all of a sudden in your head, you're hearing that music and you're scaring the crap out of yourself, right? This might be again. This is on my top all-time of movie of all time list. Um, Great, great acting, and it's funny to me that the movie was really the way it was because of the shark, right? The shark that they had in the original movie had the shark in it a lot more times, but it kept breaking. It kept breaking, and they had to kind of constantly fix it and do something different. And Spielberg said, "The hell with it." So the movie was written and shot the way it was and put out the way it was because you only see really the shark in the movie about maybe a handful of times because it was not supposed to be like that. It was supposed to be seen a lot more, but he had to go to that route because the shark kept breaking. They had such problems with the mechanical shark in the making of that movie, but it was brilliance. It worked. It made the movie that what it is today. So Jaws is my number 1 summer movie of all time. And again, I guarantee you at some point, somewhere this weekend, those 5 movies that I just mentioned, maybe with maybe not Meatballs, but most of those movies that I mentioned will be seen on a cable channel near you. And then I have an honorable mention as well. I got to put one on the honorable mention list because I didn't know where to put this. Another John Candy movie, The Great Outdoors. Again, John Candy, look at Dan Aykroyd. I mean, when you have a movie starring John Candy and Dan Aykroyd, does not go wrong, cannot go wrong, and did not go wrong in Great Outdoors. The bear dump scene, hilarious. The leeches, hilarious. It was an honorable mention. I didn't quite know where to put it. I thought about bumping Summer Rental off, but you know what? I'm going to leave great outdoors, like at that number 6 position, just outside the top 5. But there you have my top 5 summer movies of all time. And I hope you enjoyed hearing about it. And again, as we get ready for the unofficial start of summer, I'm sure they will be on a TV station near you. And that leads me to my final topic of the night, folks, and that is your Philadelphia Eagles. As I mentioned, I said this at the top. I'm not really going to get into it. I'm not. The Eagles have had a decent offseason up to this point. There's a lot of question marks. We're going to get saved. I'm enjoying kind of like my non-Eagles talk time right now because it's such a hot topic throughout the year. I clearly stayed away from the Sixers. Don't want to talk about that anymore. I'm not ready to talk about the Sixers yet. There's nothing really to talk about the Flyers, but the Eagles again. I'm taking a break because we're supposed to take a break in late May, but the schedule is out, and there's a lot of people out there making very bold claims of 14-3. I've heard 15-2 a couple places. I'm not ready to give you my official prediction yet, but I will be here in a few months. But that's gonna do me tonight. That's how we're gonna end the show as we're gonna end the show of me not talking about the Eagles. So I don't know if that's if that's good or bad. Yeah, hey, take it for what it is. But listen, from me to you personally, I really do hope, and I love being here on Thursday night. It was great. It was great. It's great being on the other end of the week. It's a whole new world over here. But from me to you, and from my family to yours, I hope you enjoy. You have a happy, safe, fun Memorial Day weekend. Don't forget all the stuff we have going on Edge of Philly Sports. We are not going anywhere. We got you covered this Memorial Day. Take us to the beach. Take us to the Poconos. Take us to your neighborhood pool. We'll be there right alongside with you, bringing you the best coverage in Philadelphia sports on the planet. Until we talk again, folks, that is the news, and I'm out of here.